You wake up before your alarm. It's 5:47 a.m. The room is gray. Your phone is already in your hand. You don't remember reaching for it. You open the banking app first. Not because you expect good news. Because you need to confirm the bad news is still there. Balance, $1,847.22. You knew that. You knew it last night. You'll know it again at lunch. You close the app and open the news. Recession warning. Layoffs at a company you don't work for. A chart trending down in red. You feel something tighten in your chest. A small, familiar contraction, like a hand closing around a coin. Your amygdala, the almond-shaped threat detection center buried deep in your temporal lobe, is already active. It activated before your prefrontal cortex came online. Before you were technically awake. This is what neuroscientists call negativity bias. The brain's tendency to weight threatening information more heavily than neutral or positive information. It's older than language. Older than money. It kept your ancestors alive on the savannah. Now it's reading you Bloomberg headlines at 5:47 a.m. You tell yourself you're just staying informed. You're not. You're feeding something. The dopamine hit isn't from learning. It's from confirming. The world is dangerous, your money isn't safe, and you are right to be afraid. You put the phone down. You pick it up again 90 seconds later. The balance has not changed. You check it anyway. Level 1 complete. But here's where most people stay. It's a Tuesday afternoon. You're at your desk. Someone in the open office laughs about a vacation in Portugal. Your stomach drops, not because you don't want them to be happy, but because you cannot afford Portugal. You can't afford the airport. The thought arrives uninvited. Something is wrong with me. You've started noticing the pattern. You notice it on Sunday nights, when the dread arrives an hour before the work email does. You notice it when a friend mentions a raise and you smile too quickly. You notice that you remember every financial mistake you have ever made. The credit card at 22, the car you shouldn't have leased, the crypto position you held too long, in cinematic detail. You remember almost none of the good decisions. The wins fade. The losses live. Research in this area suggests this asymmetry is structural. Bad events appear to leave deeper neural traces than good ones of equal magnitude, a phenomenon Roy Baumeister summarized in a now famous paper titled simply, "Bad is stronger than good." Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is functioning exactly as designed, for a world where missing a predator meant death and missing a meal meant only hunger. The cost of false negatives outweighed the cost of false positives. Better to flinch at a stick than be eaten by a snake. But you are no longer being hunted. You are checking Slack. And the same machinery is firing. You sense the pattern. You cannot name it yet. Level 2 complete. But here's where most people stay. You decide to fix it. You buy the book. You buy 3. You download the podcast. You start the budgeting app at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, feeling, for 40 minutes, the clean electric hope of someone about to become a different person. You categorize. You spreadsheet. You watch a man on YouTube with a whiteboard say the words "pay yourself first," and you nod, alone, in your kitchen. By Friday, you've checked your accounts 11 times. By Sunday, you've abandoned the app. The behavior didn't stick because you tried to install new behavior into the same nervous system that produced the old one. You can't out-discipline a threat response. You can't budget your way out of an amygdala. This is what behavioral economists have been circling for decades. Information alone rarely changes financial behavior. Knowing you should save more does not, on its own, make you save more. Daniel Kahneman called the deliberate, logical mind System 2. The fast, emotional, threat-scanning mind he called System 1. System 1 runs the show. System 2 writes the explanations afterward. When the market drops 3%, your System 1 has already sold before your System 2 has finished reading the headline. You blame yourself for the relapse. You shouldn't. The architecture is the problem, not the operator. But you don't know that yet. You only know the spreadsheet is open in a tab you no longer click. You feel the familiar contraction return. The hand. The coin. Level 3 complete. But here's where most people stay. Something shifts at 2:14 a.m. on a Saturday. You're reading, not a self-help book this time, but a paper. A real one. PDF. Charts. You stumbled into it from a footnote and something else. It describes an experiment by Kahneman and Tversky in the late 1970s. Subjects were offered a gamble. Win $100 on a coin flip, or lose $100. Most refused. To make the gamble feel fair, the upside had to be roughly twice the downside, about $200 to risk losing $100. The finding became known as loss aversion. Losses appear to register, psychologically, as roughly twice as powerful as equivalent gains. You read it twice. You feel something rearrange. It explains the morning balance checks. It explains why a $50 unexpected bill ruins your week but a $50 surprise refund barely lifts it. It explains why you held the crypto. Why you didn't ask for the raise. Why you stayed at the job. Your brain was not being weak. It was being faithful to a calibration set hundreds of thousands of years before money existed. You read about the insula, the anterior cingulate cortex, the way regions associated with physical pain light up on fMRI scans when participants anticipate financial loss. Losing money does not feel like losing money. It feels like being hurt. For the first time, you stop blaming yourself. You start studying the machine. The room is still dark. The phone is face down. Something has changed, and it is not your balance. Level 4 complete. But here's where most people stay. You stop checking the balance in the morning. Not as discipline. As experiment. You move the banking app off the home screen. You hide it inside a folder labeled, with quiet honesty, cortisol. You add a step. The step gives your prefrontal cortex 4 extra seconds. The rough window neuroscientists associate with the difference between automatic response and deliberate choice. 4 seconds is not much. 4 seconds is everything. You start naming the feeling when it arrives. That's the threat response. That's not information. That's biology. This is sometimes called affect labeling, putting words to an emotion. Evidence indicates that the simple act of naming a feeling reduces amygdala activity and increases prefrontal regulation. You do not feel transformed. You feel 1% less hijacked. You ignore one headline. You read one chart less than yesterday. You don't sell the position. You don't even open the position. You order the same coffee. You walk past the news. The day does not feel better. It feels neutral, and neutral, you realize, is a state your nervous system has not allowed in years. Neutral is the new currency. Your brain spent a lifetime indexing threat. You are beginning, slowly, to index something else. The wins are small. A $40 transfer to savings that you did not undo. A purchase you did not make. A spiral you did not enter. The contraction in your chest is still there. It is no longer the only thing in the room. Level 5 complete. But here's where most people stay. Then the headline hits. It doesn't matter which one. A bank collapses, a war escalates, a CPI print surprises. The market opens red. Your portfolio is down 4.2% before noon. The old machinery wakes up instantly. Your jaw tightens. Your phone is already in your hand. Your thumb has the muscle memory of 1,000 panic checks. This is the test. Not the books. Not the spreadsheet. Not the 2 a.m. PDF. This. Loss aversion is firing at full strength. Every dollar of unrealized loss screaming at twice the volume of any gain you've ever had. Your amygdala is doing its job perfectly. You feel the urge to sell. To do something. To convert the unbearable abstract fear into a concrete, irreversible action, because action, even bad action, reduces the cortisol. Behavioral finance researchers call this the action bias. Doing something feels like control. Doing nothing feels like death. You don't sell. You walk away from the screen. You sit on the floor of your kitchen, which is something you have not done since you were a child, and you breathe, 4 seconds in, 6 out, which is one of the few interventions clinically shown to lower heart rate and shift the autonomic nervous system out of sympathetic dominance. The market closes. The number is still red. You did not make it worse. For the first time in your investing life, you let a loss be a loss without amplifying it. The old brain is screaming. The new brain is holding the line. Level 6 complete. But here's where most people stay. Months pass. Something stranger than wealth begins to accumulate: stability. You check the accounts once a week, then once every 2. The market drops and you notice, without flinching. The market rises and you notice, without celebrating. You are running an internal experiment that you cannot quite explain to friends. You are becoming boring on purpose. This is what neuroplasticity actually looks like. Not a montage. A flattening. Donald Hebb's old principle, neurons that fire together wire together, has an underappreciated corollary. Neurons that stop firing together stop wiring together. Every panic check you didn't do was a small pruning. Every headline you skipped was a synapse you let starve. The threat circuit is still there. You have simply stopped feeding it. Money, you begin to notice, starts behaving differently around a calmer nervous system. The job offer you don't desperately need is the one you can negotiate. The investment you don't fear is the one you can hold through a cycle. The conversation about salary you can have without your voice changing pitch is the one that gets the number. Research on wealthy behavior consistently points to longer time horizons, the ability to delay reaction, to sit in ambiguity, to let compounding do what panicked rebalancing prevents. It is not that wealthy people are smarter. It is that, by training or temperament or therapy, their system one is quieter. Yours is becoming quieter. You do not feel rich. You feel still. And still, it turns out, is the foundation everything else gets built on. Level 7 complete. But here's where most people stay. You're in a room you would not have entered 3 years ago. Glass. View. A meeting about a number that, said out loud in your old kitchen, would have made your chest seize. Someone delivers bad news, a deal collapsing, a quarter missed, a competitor moving. You watch your own body. Your heart rate does not change. Your jaw does not tighten. The threat detection system that ran your life is still online. It would warn you if a fire broke out, but it is no longer in charge of your decisions about money. You ask one question. You wait. You let the silence do the work. This is the wealthy mind, not as a fantasy but as a nervous system state. It is not the absence of fear. It is the demotion of fear from executive to advisor. Negativity bias evolved to keep you alive in a world of scarcity, predators, and short horizons. The world you actually live in rewards the opposite traits: long horizons, calm under loss, asymmetric upside, restraint at the moment of panic. The brain you were born with was built for the savannah. The brain you can build is the one that compounds. You think sometimes about the version of you at 5:47 a.m. with the phone in your hand and the balance you already knew. You feel no contempt for him. He was doing exactly what his biology asked him to do. The only thing he didn't know was that biology is not destiny. It is starting material. And material can be shaped. Level 8 complete. Most people never arrive here. You did.